Good morning, students. I am Supriya Dinodia, Assistant Professor, Department of English, GC, Faridabad. Today I will discuss Geoffrey Chaucer as a poet. Geoffrey Chaucer is the first known major poet in the history of English literature. He is also known as the father of English poetry. He was born in 1340. He was connected with the royal family. He participated in French wars. He was ransomed by King's son Louis, to whom he dedicated his treatise on the astrolabe. He was employed on diplomatic missions to France and Italy. He was Member of Parliament for Kent. He also held the office of Comptroller of Customs in the Port of London. He died in 1400 and was buried in Westminster Abbey. He was good-natured, mild-mannered, rather shy, but jovial, cheerful man. He was an ardent lover of books. He trusted to books for guidance only in matters of which nobody has direct experience, such as heaven and hell. For the rest, he looked upon the spectacle of life directly with his eyes. Diverse occupations enabled him to observe life at all levels as a page, soldier, diplomat, official, member of parliament, courtier. The unique opportunity of travel to France and Italy enriched his experience and broadened his mental horizon. His literary periods are divided into three: French period, which is also known as the early period, Italian period, which is also known as the middle period, and English period, which is also known as the late period. First, we will discuss about French period, or also known as the early period. He has written Romaunt of the Rose, which is translation of Roman de la Rose, which is written in octosyllabic couplets. It was written in 13th century. It is an enormous poem in two parts. The first and shorter part by Guillaume de Loris, the second and much longer by Jean de Meung. It started and fixed the tradition of courtly love. The conventional machinery is that of a dream in which the narrator sees a beautiful garden beside a river bank. It is a May morning with flowers blooming and birds singing. The point to be noted here is it is May morning in England, not in India. May morning in London, it is pleasant. The lovers enter the garden, and his courtship of the lady is allegorically represented as an attempt to pluck the rose hidden there. The lady encourages or discourages him according to her moods. Her moods or qualities such as kindness and courtesy, which favor his suits, or fear and shame, which repel it, are personified. The whole atmosphere, redolent of perfume, luxury, laughing, and dancing, is that of courtly life, of love and leisure. The first allegorical poem is the Book of Duchess, an elegy written on the death in 1369 of Blanche, Duchess of Lancaster, wife of John of Gaunt. It is in octosyllabic couplets and expresses the husband's grief and sings the praises of the Duchess. The second of the allegorical poems is the Parliament of Fowls. Nature has called a grand parliament of birds to celebrate St. Valentine's Day, that is Feb 14, by choosing their mates. Chaucer followed the stock formula of the dream allegory for many years, only now and then expressing his native genius for humorous description. The birds make speeches in the courtly love fashion, some defending constancy, faithfulness, loyalty, others advocating free love. Though the form and material are conventional, the debate is made lively by the poet's deft touches of drama and humor. The poem is in 7-line stanza, also called rhyme royal form, from its use by King James I in his King's Square. The line is decasyllabic and the rhyme scheme is ABA, BB, CC. Chaucer's lyrical poems are believed to have been lost. In his popular ballad, Free from the Press, He praises the life of quiet contentment far from madding crowds. He was not quite at home in lyrical expressions, and his special gift lay in narration. His strength is his narration. After his visit to Italy in 1372, he produced poems which bear unmistakable evidence of Italian influence, that of Dante, Petrarch, and Boccaccio. House of Fame shows the influence of Dante's Divine Comedy. It is a dream allegory in octosyllables, a curious mixture of scientific learning, satire, humor, and shrewd criticism of life. In a dream, the poet, like Dante, is carried by an eagle to heaven to see the House of Fame. It is situated on a rock of ice. As the ice has melted away, it has obliterated some letters out of every one of the famous names engraved upon it. This shows transitoriness of most fame. Only a few names of antiquity have retained their lustre. There is comic perversity of the goddess of fame. She grants fame indiscriminately to both deserving and undeserving and withholds it from both with equal impartiality. There is the house of rumors, which is built of twigs full of holes. The interest of the poem lies in the poet's charming self characterization, particularly in his candid confession that he is not fit for sublime heights of Dante and feels safer with his feet firmly planted on the earth. The eagle, too, is very humorous character, and the dramatic and humorous touches in the conversation between him and the poet are thoroughly Chaucerian. From Petrarch's Latin work, he borrowed the story of the patient Griselda told by the clerk in the Canterbury Tales. From Boccaccio, he borrowed the story of Pelaman and Arcite, which becomes the Knight's Tale in the Canterbury Tales collection, and Troilus and Cressida. The Knight's Tale is abridgment of Boccaccio's epic poem Tessida. Troilus is an enlargement of his Il Filostrato, love-stricken, written in rhyme royal stanza, and is the longest single poem of Chaucer's. He gave different treatment to borrowed material. He borrowed plot of Troilus from Boccaccio, but treatment was free both in conception of character and in sentiment. Chaucer softens character of faithless Cressida. While the Italian work depicts passion, Chaucer delineates character. He shows his characteristic genius for realistic and humorous characterization in Pandarus, the uncle of Cressida. Chaucer wrote Legend of Good Women under the Italian influence. The prologue, though allegorical, is by far the most interesting part of the poem. In a dream, the poet is rebuked by Cupid, god of love, for his attacks on women in his works like Romaunt of the Rose and Troilus and Cressida. Alcestis intercedes on behalf of the poet, whose penance is reduced to writing of true and faithful women drawn from historical and classical stories and legends, such as Cleopatra, Lucrece, Medea, Philomela, Thisbe, etc. It is an unfinished poem and the poet's first experiment in the heroic couplet, in which he was to write the Canterbury Tales. The Canterbury Tales, together with blank verse, became the standard meter of later English poetry. Now we will discuss English literature. So far, he was merely a borrower, translator, or adapter. His native genius, suppressed so long, broke forth from its bondage and found full and unhampered expression in the Canterbury Tales. He conceived the idea of a pilgrimage to bring together an assorted company of people as tellers of those tales, vivid pen portraits of the pilgrims. We are no longer in the world of allegorical abstractions, ancient gods or heroes, but in the real world of living men and women. He ushered in the era of modern literature and established himself as the greatest European poet of his time. For reference, I have used History of English Literature by W.H. Hudson, and these are the links of recommended videos which are available on YouTube. We will discuss English literature written by Chaucer in next lecture. Thank you. Good morning, students.